When I found papers scattered in CEO Alexander Sterling's trash that revealed someone was selling confidential client information, I knew staying silent was safer for my job. As a single mother, working 2 cleaning jobs to afford my daughter Isabella's diabetes medication, I couldn't afford to lose work. But those papers showed someone was betraying the company and its clients for money. What happened when I chose to write that note to Mr. Sterling, instead of pretending I never saw anything, would transform me from invisible night cleaner to the director of corporate integrity, proving that sometimes the biggest rewards come from the smallest acts of courage. You will not believe how this story ended. Welcome to Life's Changing Stories. Now, let's dive into today's story. Carmen Vasquez had perfected the art of being invisible during her 8 years as a night cleaner, moving through office buildings like a ghost who left behind only spotless floors and emptied trash cans. At 34, she had learned that survival in the cleaning industry required a specific kind of discipline. Mind your own business, do your job exceptionally well, and never get involved in matters that weren't your concern. Carmen worked 2 cleaning jobs and picked up extra shifts whenever possible, driven by the relentless financial pressure of supporting her 12-year-old daughter Isabella, whose type 1 diabetes required expensive insulin, monitoring supplies, and regular endocrinologist visits that their basic health insurance barely covered. Every extra hour, Carmen worked translated directly into Isabella's ability to manage her conditions safely, making financial stability a matter of life and death rather than mere comfort. Sterling Industries had been Carmen's primary assignment for 3 years, offering better pay than most cleaning contracts, steady work, and security guards who treated the cleaning staff with basic respect rather than suspicion. The 30-story glass tower in downtown Seattle housed one of the Pacific Northwest's most successful investment firms, and Carmen took pride in maintaining the pristine environment that Sterling's wealthy clients expected. Carmen particularly enjoyed cleaning the executive floor, not because the work was easier, though the executives were tidier than most office workers, but because the spacious offices and expensive furnishings made her wonder about the lives of people who worked in such luxury. She sometimes imagined what it would be like to sit behind those mahogany desks, making decisions that affected thousands of employees and millions of dollars in investments. Over the past year, however, Carmen had noticed troubling changes in the atmosphere on the executive floor. Conversations stopped abruptly when cleaning staff entered rooms. Important-looking documents were hastily covered or shuffled into drawers, and there was a general air of suspicion and stress that seemed to permeate even the most senior levels of management. CEO Alexander Sterling, usually calm and professional, had become increasingly agitated, taking late-night phone calls that she could hear through his office door as she worked in the adjacent conference room. Carmen had overheard enough fragments of conversation to understand that Sterling Industries was losing clients and major contracts at an alarming rate, with competitors somehow underbidding them on projects they should have won easily. Sterling's frustration was evident in his terse phone conversations with board members and his increasingly late nights at the office, working frantically to understand how their competitive advantage had evaporated so quickly. Despite her curiosity about the company's troubles, Carmen maintained her commitment to invisibility and professional boundaries. She cleaned around hushed phone conversations, emptied trash cans full of shredded documents, and noticed patterns of unusual behavior without allowing herself to speculate about their meaning. Her job was to clean, not to solve corporate mysteries or involve herself in executive-level problems that were far above her pay grade. One Tuesday night in November, Carmen began her shift at Sterling Industries with her usual routine, starting on the 15th floor with Alexander Sterling's corner office. The CEO typically worked late, but had apparently left earlier than usual, leaving behind a desk covered with financial reports and legal documents that Carmen carefully cleaned around without disturbing. As Carmen emptied the large wastebasket near Sterling's conference table, several papers scattered across the polished floor, forcing her to kneel down and collect them carefully. Professional document disposal was taken seriously at Sterling Industries, and Carmen was always meticulous about ensuring that confidential materials ended up properly shredded rather than accidentally misplaced. But as she gathered the scattered papers, one document caught her attention with a header that read, "Confidential Client Data Transfer, Morrison Capital Management Account." Carmen's English was excellent despite being her second language, and she immediately understood that this was exactly the kind of sensitive information that should never end up in a regular trash can. More disturbing were the handwritten notes in the margins of the document, scrawled in black ink that was clearly different from the official typed text. The notes included phrases like, "Contact JM Friday, transfer amount 2.3 M, meeting location confirmed," and a series of phone numbers that had obviously been added after the document's creation. Carmen felt her heart rate accelerate as she realized what she was looking at. Someone had taken official Sterling Industries client information and added their own notes about selling or transferring that information to outside parties. The handwriting was different from Alexander Sterling's distinctive script, which she had seen on numerous memos and personal notes throughout her 3 years of cleaning his office. For 20 minutes, Carmen knelt on Sterling's office floor, organizing the scattered papers and trying to understand the full scope of what she had discovered. The documents contained detailed financial information about Sterling Industries clients, including investment strategies, account balances, and confidential business plans that could be worth millions of dollars to competitors. The handwritten additions made it clear that someone with access to these documents was systematically copying and selling the information. Carmen recognized the devastating potential of such betrayal, not just for Sterling Industries, but for the clients whose private financial information was being sold to the highest bidder. Carmen thought about Isabella, asleep at home under the care of their neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, trusting that her mother would continue to earn enough money to keep her healthy. Getting involved in corporate espionage accusations could cost Carmen both her jobs, her reputation, and her ability to support Isabella's medical needs. The safe choice was to pretend she had never seen the documents, to dispose of them quietly, and continue with her cleaning routine as if nothing had happened. But Carmen also thought about her grandmother's words, spoken in Spanish during her childhood. "Mija, doing the right thing is always your problem, even when it would be easier to look away." Sitting at Sterling's desk, Carmen took out a piece of company letterhead and wrote what felt like the most important note of her life. "Mr. Sterling, I found these papers scattered in your trash can during my cleaning tonight. I believe someone is copying your confidential client information and selling it to competitors. The handwritten notes in the margins don't match your handwriting, and they contain details about transferring sensitive information. I apologize for reading your private documents, but I thought you needed to know about this immediately. Carmen Vasquez, night cleaning staff." Carmen paper-clipped her note to the suspicious documents and placed them in the center of Sterling's desk, where he couldn't miss them. As she finished her shift and walked to the bus stop, she felt simultaneously proud of her courage and terrified that she might have destroyed her own livelihood to save a company that didn't even know she existed. The next evening, Carmen arrived at Sterling Industries to find Jerry, the night security supervisor, waiting for her in the lobby with an expression that made her stomach drop. "Carmen, Mr. Sterling wants to see you in his office," Jerry said apologetically. "He's been waiting up there for about an hour." Carmen felt like she might vomit as she rode the elevator to the 15th floor. She had convinced herself that Sterling would simply handle the situation quietly, perhaps increasing security measures or conducting an internal investigation without involving the cleaning staff. The prospect of a face-to-face confrontation with the CEO terrified her, especially since she had no idea whether he viewed her as a helpful employee or a security threat. Sterling's office door was open, but Carmen knocked softly before entering. What she saw made her fear exponentially worse. Alexander Sterling sat behind his desk, flanked by two stern-looking men in expensive suits, all three of them studying documents that Carmen recognized as the papers she had found. "Come in, Ms. Vasquez," Sterling said coldly, his usual polite demeanor replaced by something that seemed almost dangerous. "Please have a seat." Carmen perched nervously on the edge of the chair facing Sterling's desk, her hands trembling as she tried to project calm she absolutely did not feel. Sterling held up the documents Carmen had left for him, his expression unreadable. "Can you explain how you came to have access to these confidential materials?" "I found them scattered in your trash can," Carmen replied quietly. "When I was emptying it, the papers fell out, and I had to collect them." "And why did you read confidential company information instead of simply disposing of it properly?" one of the suited men asked with the kind of authority that suggested law enforcement. Carmen felt panic rising in her chest. "I saw the header that said confidential, and I noticed the handwritten notes that looked different from the official document. I thought Mr. Sterling should know that someone might be copying his files." Sterling leaned forward, his voice carrying an edge that made Carmen wonder if she was about to be arrested. "Ms. Vasquez, corporate espionage is a federal crime punishable by significant prison time. I need you to tell me exactly who put you up to this, who you're working with, and what you were planning to do with this information." "Nobody put me up to anything," Carmen said desperately, her voice rising with fear. "I swear on my daughter's life, I was just trying to help. I thought you should know that someone was copying your files and selling the information. I would never try to hurt this company or steal anything." The intensity in Sterling's eyes shifted slightly, and Carmen sensed that her genuine terror and confusion might be convincing him of her innocence. "Ms. Vasquez," Sterling said more gently, "do you know that David Richardson, our Senior Vice President of Client Services, has master key access to all these files and frequently works late in this building?" Carmen nodded uncertainly, recognizing Richardson's name, but having minimal interaction with executives during her night shift. Sterling turned one of the documents toward Carmen, pointing to the handwritten notes. "This handwriting belongs to Mr. Richardson. You didn't commit corporate espionage, Ms. Vasquez. You exposed it." Carmen felt the world tilt as she processed Sterling's words. "I exposed it." "Mr. Richardson has been photographing confidential client documents and selling the information to our competitors," Sterling explained. "He's been operating as a corporate spy within our executive team for at least 6 months, which explains why we've been losing clients and major contracts despite having superior proposals." One of the suited men introduced himself as Agent Collins from the FBI's Corporate Crime Division. "Ms. Vasquez, Mr. Richardson has been feeding detailed information to Morrison Capital Management, allowing them to underbid Sterling Industries on projects worth tens of millions of dollars. Your discovery of these documents provided the evidence we needed to build a case against him." Agent Collins's partner, Agent Martinez, added, "We estimate that Richardson has stolen over $3 million worth of proprietary information and caused Sterling Industries to lose approximately $15 million in potential contracts." Sterling looked directly at Carmen with newfound respect. "You found information that was worth potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars on the black market, and instead of trying to profit from it, you gave it to me for free. Why?" Carmen's answer was simple and immediate. "It wasn't mine to sell, sir. It belonged to you and your clients." Agent Martinez confirmed that they had enough evidence for Richardson's arrest and that Carmen's testimony would be crucial in ensuring his conviction. Richardson was arrested the following morning at his home, charged with corporate espionage, theft of trade secrets, and fraud. Sterling studied Carmen for a long moment before speaking again. "Ms. Vasquez, integrity like yours is the rarest commodity in the business world. I have worked with executives who sold out colleagues for personal gain, who prioritized profit over principles, who compromised their values for advancement. You had nothing to gain and everything to lose by bringing this to my attention, but you did it anyway because it was right." Carmen felt tears welling up as the full scope of the situation became clear. She had expected to be fired or arrested, but instead she was being praised for her character by one of Seattle's most successful businessmen. "I'm going to offer you a position as my executive assistant," Sterling continued. "The role involves managing my calendar, coordinating meetings with clients and board members, liaising with our security team, and serving as my direct liaison for sensitive matters that require absolute discretion and integrity." Carmen stared at him in disbelief. "Mr. Sterling, I don't have any office experience or business education. I've been a cleaner for 8 years. You saved this company by understanding the difference between right and wrong," Sterling replied. "Everything else we can teach you." The position comes with full health insurance and a salary of $75,000 annually. Carmen thought about Isabella's insulin costs, the endocrinologist visits, the glucose monitoring supplies that consumed so much of their budget. The health insurance alone would transform their lives, and the salary was more than her 2 cleaning jobs combined. "There's one more thing," Sterling added. "I'm creating a new position, Director of Corporate Integrity, to ensure that Sterling Industries operates with the highest ethical standards. I can't think of anyone better qualified for that role than the person who risked her job to protect this company's values." 6 months later, Carmen sat in her corner office on the 14th floor, reviewing compliance reports and preparing for a board meeting where she would present her recommendations for strengthening Sterling Industries' ethical policies. She had traded her cleaning uniform for professional clothes and her invisible status for a position where Sterling relied on her judgment daily. David Richardson had been sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for corporate espionage, with Carmen's testimony highlighting the crucial role that ordinary employees play in preventing corporate crime. The Morrison Capital Management case had been settled for $47 million in damages, money that not only restored Sterling Industries' financial position, but funded the expansion of their ethical oversight programs. Isabella's diabetes was now completely manageable thanks to the comprehensive health insurance, and Carmen no longer lay awake at night calculating whether they could afford the next prescription refill. Isabella had proudly told her class that her mother was famous for catching a corporate spy, to which Carmen had replied that she was famous for doing the right thing when it mattered. Sterling had personally thanked Carmen numerous times for her courage, emphasizing that the settlement, the saved jobs, and the corrupt executive's imprisonment had all happened because she had chosen to speak up when it would have been much easier and safer to stay silent. The story of Carmen's integrity became legendary at Sterling Industries, inspiring other employees to report ethical concerns and establishing a culture where doing the right thing was valued more than playing it safe. Sterling implemented a comprehensive whistleblower protection program and created anonymous reporting systems that encouraged employees at all levels to voice concerns about potential wrongdoing. What Carmen taught us, Sterling would tell new employees during orientation, is that character isn't determined by your title, your salary, or the size of your office. Character is what you do when no one is watching, when you have everything to lose and nothing to gain, accept the knowledge that you've done the right thing. Carmen's transformation from night cleaner to corporate director proved that important moments often come disguised as simple choices. Stay silent or speak up. Play it safe or do what's right. Protect yourself or protect others. Her decision to choose courage over comfort had led to a life she had never dared to dream was possible. In her new role, Carmen established programs to support other employees facing financial hardships due to medical expenses, created scholarship funds for children of Sterling Industries employees, and developed training programs that emphasized ethical decision-making at every level of the organization. Years later, when young employees asked Carmen for career advice, she would share the lesson her grandmother had taught her. Doing the right thing is always your problem, even when it would be easier to look away. But sometimes, when you choose to make it your problem, you discover it was actually your opportunity. Carmen's choice to report the corporate espionage had saved Sterling Industries millions of dollars, protected innocent clients from having their private information sold, and resulted in the conviction of a criminal who had betrayed the trust of everyone who worked with him. But more importantly, it had demonstrated that integrity and courage were qualities that transcended job titles and educational credentials. Her story became a case study in business ethics courses, proving that the most valuable employees are often those who possess the moral courage to do what's right, regardless of personal risk. Carmen had started as an invisible night cleaner and become the moral compass of one of Seattle's most respected financial firms, all because she chose to write a note instead of staying silent when confronted with evidence of wrongdoing. The greatest rewards in life, Carmen learned, often come not from playing it safe, but from having the courage to stand up for what's right when the stakes are highest and the outcome is most uncertain. Her integrity had not only transformed her own life, but had saved a company and protected countless innocent people from the consequences of corporate betrayal. And every morning, when Carmen arrived at her corner office, she remembered the night she knelt on Alexander Sterling's floor, gathering scattered papers and making the choice that would change everything. It was a reminder that the most important decisions often happen in quiet moments when no one is watching, and that doing the right thing, even when it's difficult and dangerous, always leads to outcomes more powerful than we can imagine. We hope you enjoyed today's story. For more free stories and entertainment from our channel, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe with notifications.